everybody, what is going on? It's your boy Izzo33, and today we're doing something a little different for TFT time. Today, me and Space Rainbow are going to be taking the 56 TFT Champions and rating them in a tier list. Yes, we're finally catching up on this trend. So, let's start off with the top of the list. We have Aatrox, who's a demon blade master, who I honestly think is worth a B tier. He has a high burst damage ult that's AoE as well, and it does so much. He is really good, but he does have not that much health, shall we say.
Yeah. um, sure, like a B tier for Aatrox is, I agree on that, but as you said, he's good, but he doesn't need the items to get him up to an eventual S. So.
Okay, moving on, we have Ari, who I honestly think's not even worth B tier. She's probably around C or D. She has a high burst damage ultimate that she gets quite often. That Q from normal game gets used a lot, but she does lack in health, and in the normal sorcery teams, which you're probably most likely going to run her, she gets bursted out quite quickly by assassins.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going wild, she may be like a good asset to the team, but I don't really like her that much.
Okay, so she's going straight into D. Next, we've got Akali, who's a 4-cost assassin who, honestly, and ninja, I should probably point out, and that's probably a big downfall to her, because she's the second assassin ninja who costs more to get, and honestly, by the time you get Akali, you're probably going to have a level 3 Zed. And Akali is really good if you don't get the Zed early, but obviously she's too reliant on that fact for her to be picked up into most assassin teams. So I do think she's B tier, maybe C. She's definitely not A or above, because in most assassin team comps, she is probably one of the first to die.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't really play assassins, so I wouldn't really know, but I never really liked her.
So we're gonna stick her in C or B.
I would stick her in C.
Okay, now we have the Ice Bird, and she's the first of two glacial elementalists who, if really only fits the team comp if you're going elementalists and glacials combined. Elementalists alone, she's rarely picked up as Brand, Lissandra, and Kennen are the main trio to get elementalists, but she does have a fairly decent ultimate, and she's been given a few buffs, giving her a bit more health. But honestly, I don't rate her too highly because she's so hard to get, and once you get to that point in a team comp, you could have even gotten a spatula and a giant spell and gained another glacial, so you don't need to get this Anivia. But she's not the best in my opinion, so I think she's a solid B character more than anything.
What? Wait, she's not that good, but she's a B character?
I mean, she's better than Akali because she can actually survive fights. And she's also got the unique elementalist, so she's obviously bringing that golem. Plus, she's strong in the sense she stuns people and locks them in place for a lot longer than what an Akali can do. That's why I feel she's a B. Next, we have Ashe, and Ashe is an absolute devil to play up against. If you haven't noticed, in a lot of these TFT times, we run up against Ashes all the time, and Ashe is so strong with the Ranger perk, as well as the Glacial, so she's going to be rapid firing shots onto you with that 66% chance to stun when you've got max Glacials, and honestly, with that in mind, she's just going to be firing in, and she'll have a front line protecting her a lot more than what these other characters will have, and she'll just easily evaporate you. So I honestly think she's either S or A.
Yeah, she's really annoying to be up against. Especially when you're like almost won and she has her ult and just kills you. So
That's the
yeah,
thing.
definitely.
The thing is about her ult, it does take her a long time to charge up, but in that time she stunned you about 3 times. So
Exactly.
she's gonna immediately fire that ult off without any issue. So I honestly think she's a definite S tier.
Yeah, I agree.
Next we have the original badass of TFT in Aurelion Sol. This guy, when TFT first came out onto the main servers, he was an absolute beast. Everyone used to run him, and he was just deadly with his ultimate. He has been tuned down a little since then. That ultimate obviously not as powerful, and he does take a bit more damage, I guess, in new comps. But
Yeah,
he's
but
still very strong, I'd say. He's
his
probably around a
AoE
B
ult
or
is
A.
so annoying.
Yeah, plus he has dragon buff.
Yeah,
That
that too.
makes him extremely strong. Like, now that Pantheon's in the game, you have a solid frontliner who can protect him, as well as having a dragon protection shield stopping any magic damage. He's very annoying to come up against. So I think he's warranting an A or a B tier here. Where do you
Yeah.
think?
I'll put it on A tier.
Yeah. So next we got Blitz. So why don't you run down Blitz for us?
Blitz, well, I love going brawler because it's so easy. And Blitz is like your main
Beep
guy to
beep.
go because you just hook like everyone's damage and it's an easy one. So if you place him correctly and use him correctly, he's definitely an A. But if you place him poorly, then he can go down to as much as a D.
I honestly agree with that robot buff making it so that he always has his ultimate as soon as he spawns in. Does grant him quite a good buff, shall we say. Plus, he gets technically a follow-up stun. So he's like stunning you for like at least 4 seconds with the hook pulling you across, and then the stun with the auto attack. It's an on-hit auto attack as well, so it's magic damage plus on-hit damage. So naturally, he's going to be very powerful. Plus, in a brawler comp, he's going to be hard to burst out. So you obviously are going to be hooked probably multiple times. Like he'll get his ult again and immediately hook you. He's that strong. So I honestly think he's a A tier. I put Karthus in A tier. I'm smart. I mean, Blitz is obviously A tier. Next we have Brand, a demon elementalist, and honestly, I think he's really good. He's in the same boat as Aurelion Sol. He has a very good ultimate in the sense that it hits multiple targets, plus it burns them. And burn is very, very good. As you stop comps like Nobles, you stop heals like Lulu heal. You even beat Krugs pretty easily with him. So naturally he's going to be either B or A tier. Plus, I should probably point out he's A has Elementalist buff, so honestly I feel going to be the same as Anivia, if not higher, because you're more likely to get a brand.
Yeah, put him on A, considering you put Olivia on B.
Fair enough. Like you used to go demons a lot, didn't you? And you obviously
Yeah,
ran
but
him quite a bit.
I rarely used Burn because I didn't like him that much.
Why?
I don't know, it just didn't fit the team. Like, I already had a good demon team when I got to him, so I never really needed him.
So, are you the type of person to run the Swain over the brand?
Definitely.
Okay, moving on to my favorite person. It is Braum. And Braum for me is probably the best glacial in the game. He's also a guardian, providing that extra armor to your team, and I honestly love him. He is my definite S tier. I don't care what Space Rainbow says. Braum is the best.
Well, I guess so.
But as on a serious note, got such good classes in the Glacial and the Guardian. He's a very strong frontliner. You put things like the Dragon Claw on him, a Thorn Mail, and then a Warmogs, he sticks up that wall, his massive shield. You're basically not killing him. He's unkillable at that point. Plus, he's got such a good ult that ult obviously stops any projectiles going through it, so you're naturally not going to be able to fire Varus arrows, Ash arrows straight through. He's so good at stopping that sort of stuff. He also stops Brandle as well, which I learned the other day. Okay, moving on, we have Camille, who's a Blade Master in Hextech. She's probably the core Hextech, I'd say, being so easy to get, being a one cost, and she combines well with Jace. But honestly, if I were to run either a Fiora or a Camille in a Blade Master team, I'd definitely run the Fiora over Camille. Yes, Camille locks people into place and has a massive burst damage ultimate, but she does get tanky towards the end game, but she's a Blade Master. She's meant to attack quick, and in comparison to Fiora, who's the same cost as her, she doesn't attack as quick, and honestly is more likely to be bursted out than the other one. So honestly, I feel she's either a C or a D.
Really? I like her because with my experience, I usually get her to a level 3 quite
Yeah,
quickly
I agree.
compared to a
You get her
Fiora.
to level 3 a lot more often. I see more level 3 Camille's than Fioras. However, today I played Blade Masters with both of them, getting both of them to level 3. And honestly, the Camille was bursted out a lot more than the Fiora. Fiora has the ability to sustain a lot better, and honestly, I feel should be ranked higher than Camille. So it's either a C or a B, and I'm a C or a D. And I don't think Fiora's good enough to be in B tier. So I definitely think it's going to be a D for Camille.
Really?
Where would you put her?
I would put her on a C because I think she's definitely better than Ari, but kind of on the same level as Akali.
Okay. Well, I'll go with you on this one. And with that being said, let's talk about Cho. The Void Brawler. Honestly, he has a very good ultimate. Like, the amount of arena that ultimate takes up is probably... You see where the top of the S is up here to there? Like, from literally the top of the S to probably where the bottom of this screen is probably how much of is an actual board. He probably takes about 3/4 of the screen up with his ult, which is very strong. He's also a brawler, so he gains more health. He's a very good tanky boy, so I think he's probably up in B or A tier.
Yeah, he's easily that high up with his ult, and especially if you use like an item that stops healing, he's even better.
True. So, like, if you add like a Moronomonomicon to his ult, you're guaranteed to
Yeah,
hit a burn on someone.
exactly.
So next we have Darius, who's my Bay. Imperial and Knight. He's a very good early game character as a whole, who has the ability to heal from opponents, which is a nice thing. However, of the 3 starting knights that are available, you obviously have Garen and Mordekaiser. He's probably the second best behind Garen, because Garen can actually soak up a lot more damage in comparison to Darius, although it's basically scenario based in a sense. If the entire enemy team swarmed you, Darius is more likely to win in comparison to the Garen, because Darius can heal back the health a lot more than what Garen can. But I honestly feel he's a C tier because he can become really good, but it is scenario based in how well he performs. Whereas Garen performs well no matter what the situation is. So next we have Draven. I will let you run down Draven.
Driven?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's a good boy, but he's also a squishy boy. And so, I don't know, it really depends on what comp you're going. With Imperial, obviously he's needed, but I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted because he is good if you use certain items and plays him well and have a good front line, but he's also really bad if you don't have a good front line and you don't get any good items for him. So it
So
really depends.
would you say he's better than Anivia? Like once he gets his blade spinning, he's probably better than Anivia. But
Yeah,
standard, he would be probably on level. So I definitely
right.
think he's a B. Next we have Elise, and honestly, Elise early game is okay. Late game she's atrocious because yes, she's a demon and she creates spiderlings. Early game, they're amazing them spiderlings because they grant extra damage onto the opponent, which is what you want. However, late game, she gets pretty much destroyed, and them spiderlings, the way they spawn, they'll not get involved in any combat. They'll do about 12 damage to a champion, which is not a lot, and then just immediately be crumbled by something. I guess the best way to describe Elise is cannon fodder. Like, she'll take up a Brandle with all her spiderlings. That's my thoughts on her as a whole. And like, I get that she's demon, that's a very good class, and shapeshifter, so she gains the health back, but she's not that good in my opinion.
I mean, I really like her because you get extra damage on the enemy, but there are, of course, better demons and shapeshifters to choose from.
The thing is, who would you rather run in any team comp? An Elise or an Italy?
I
Who would
mean,
do more
it
damage for
kind of
you?
depends. Who
The,
will do more damage? Most likely Italy.
exactly. So honestly, I feel we're gonna have our first E here in Elise, because literally all she is to me is cannon fodder. Like she does barely any damage late game, and that's where your team fights come alive. Is the late game. So
Yeah.
that's where she's gonna remain. Okay, so next we have my good friend and yours, Evelyn. Honestly, I like her. She's, in my opinion, a little better than Akali. Although her ultimate doesn't come up as often as Akali's, it's a bigger range version of her ult, and she's able to dodge back from any oncoming attacks. Yes, some of the time that only buys a couple of seconds for you, because she's most likely to be the last thing alive, but she's quite strong, and that ultimate does a hell of a lot of damage. So I feel she's a B. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah. She's a good assassin as well as demon. Like, if you're in demon and you have her as an assassin, you get the back line while your other demons get the front line. And I really like that mix up of classes.
True. See, she's a lot better than Akali in a sense that she's more likely to be picked up than the Akali and obviously do more. So next we have the aforementioned Fiora, whom I honestly think's a lot better than Camille. Her ability is a damage avoidance ability as well as a stun. She's probably going to fire off that at least twice in a fight. She, in my opinion, is the weakest noble, but
Yeah.
she's good at dodging abilities, and early game, that's kind of the whole meta. You want to avoid the opponent's ability by either killing them quickly, which she'll do, or by dodging him, and which she does. So honestly, I think she's a B tier, or at least higher than Camille. What about you?
Wait, you said that she's. What about late game?
Late game, I mean,
Yeah.
she obviously will avoid abilities and get a few stuns off. Not many. She'll probably die quite quick, depending on the position. But unless you have the Kale late game to go alongside her, she isn't the best. I mean, in a Blade Master team, she'll obviously outlive the Camille.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that she has at level 2 the most attack speed out of pretty much all the Blade Masters as far as I'm aware. Base stats wise, she has the highest attack speed. And considering Blade Masters, you're going for that attack speed, I feel she's quite good and she'll be in the B tier.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
Next, we have probably the most unique gunslinger in the game. It's the Pirate Blade Master Gunslinger, Gangplank. Gangplank! Whom I feel's got a very good ult. It was nerfed slightly in the latest update, but I do feel he does a lot of damage still. He is quite bulky in the sense that he can live. Although if you put a Dragon Claw and Thormail, don't expect him to tank. He is still mainly a damage dealer. So I honestly feel he's either a B or A.
Really? I mean, I don't play him that much, so I actually don't know.
Like I've ran him twice today. I ran a pirate game and then a Blade Master game, and he was my weakest Blade Master purely because he was level 1 while all my other Blade Masters were level 2 or 3. And oh, I brought up the wrong screen. I was trying to see if I had my game because I usually take screenshots of my games to see like damage wise on each champion. And honestly, I feel he's either a B or A. If he had, see, he would be definite S tier if his ultimate granted him the lemon, where he just healed and got out of a stun immediately. That would be broken. But I feel he's in B tier or A. And
Yeah.
considering his ultimate's probably as good as Cho's because of the amount of range it has, he's definitely going in at B A. So next we have the better of the three knights at level 1. It's Garen. And Garen has a very good ultimate, spin to win AoE, that also provides him a lot of protection and damage resistance. And honestly is a very strong noble. I honestly feel he's a lot better than Fiora. So I'm definitely sticking him up here. Either A or S.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's really, really good.
So which would you stick him in?
S, definitely S.
Okay. Why don't you take Nah, because you're the wild player here.
I mean, I used to love Nar. When the shapeshifters only required 3 for maximum. But now, I don't know, I don't really play him that much anymore. But he's still good for like if the backline is all the way back and you have no way to reach it, then Nar will help you give you a little push and you've got the backline. So he's really good in that sense, but that also means that he's bad up against demons and if he's squishy and only level 1, then he's also gonna be quite bad.
True, but you have to also realize for max Yordle buff, you do need this guy. And that does mean you get the obvious damage avoidance with Yordles. So with that in mind, he kind of counters demons slightly. So where would you put him?
Probably A.
A. I
Yeah.
agree, because that ultimate, the amount of range, the hitbox on that is stupid.
Yeah, it
So,
is.
next we have Graves. And Graves, for me, It depends. Pre 9.17, he will be higher up than where he is going to be placed. Because you could obviously make a flamethrower with him. That being said, now with them reducing the rapid fire, it's going to obviously be a little lower. But he is a standard damage dealer for being a 1 cost. He has a shotgun that's slow firing. And honestly, I feel he's either in D or E. All things considered.
Graves, I don't know, I don't like him that much. Not that good, to be honest.
Next, we have a funny story about Jace. Do you remember that time that guy literally just went Jace? When Hextech first came out. And he did fairly well. He didn't go out first, he went out like 3rd or 4th. Just using Jaces. And that alone tells you the strength of this character. Jace honestly doesn't suck. He's definitely better than Fiora and anything in B tier. He's a shapeshifter at heart, where he can literally just switch, get some health back, boom, hit you away with a hammer, dealing a lot of damage, and then he just fires super quick. So I feel he's ARS, but you have to realize who's following him. I'm definitely putting him in A. Because if you give him something like a Rage Blade and a Static Shiv, I mean, pretty much giving anyone a Rage Blade and a Static Shiv just makes them stupidly insane. So, except Elise. Except Elise. That being said, Graves with Static Shiv and Rage Blade works really well. But now let's move on to my favourite character, jokes. Probably the best character at the moment in TFT. And it's going to be Jinx. And the reason people say she's the best? That ultimate is broken. If you can call it an ultimate. It's more a passive. In a sense, every kill she gets, or is involved in, she gets more and more powerful. And like, you can obviously give her a Rage Blade, Stack Shiv or a Hurricane to increase the amount of targets hit, and then some more like damage item, maybe a GA, maybe an IE, and she becomes stupidly powerful. Like, you can literally just absolutely destroy an opposition. So I honestly think she's S tier. What about you?
Yeah, she's stupid good. Like, I absolutely hate being up against her.
Okay. Moving on to someone that I very rarely use, and I honestly feel you're more suited to actually describe.
Princess? Yeah. I mean, he's not that good considering his cost. Like, sure, his attack ultimate attacks everyone.
That's the thing, it doesn't attack everyone. It only hits a certain amount of targets per level on him. I learned that out the hard way. Like, you right click him, he only chooses about 4 or 5 targets at level 1, which is not that many in comparison to what other characters can do at base level. And he honestly shouldn't be a 5-cost character for a demon. Like, no, he's a phantom, not a demon. I get his, in comparison to Aurelion Soul. Aurelion Soul can hit about 6-7 characters base level with his ult. He can't. Hell, Mordekaiser can hit more targets than he can. And they're both the same tier. So I'm honestly putting him low. C or D. Because he still does more damage than Elise and Graves combined.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
I honestly think he's a C.
Yeah, I agree.
Now we have probably one of the better starting champions that does get a lot more team fluidity, with his sorcerer and I don't know his other thing.
Void.
Void, that's it. Kassadin, whom as a whole has a very good passive. Obviously, he drains opponent's mana. That is very good early game because he's a similar sort of strategy to Fiora. Honestly, I feel they're quite similar because Fiora's main goal is to avoid damage and do. This guy builds a shield and drains mana. You're obviously going to be very good when you get him, and honestly, I feel he's a B tier. Same tier as Fiora.
Yeah, honestly.
Why don't you discuss Cat for me?
Kinda, I mean, I don't think I'm very suited to discuss her, but sure. She's what? Assassin Imperial?
Yep.
And she's really good if you get items onto her, but before that, she's not super good. I wouldn't run her if I had the choice to run someone like Evelyn for Assassin.
Yeah. See, in an actual assassin comp, unless you get like a spatula BF sword to make another assassin, you actually have to run the Katarina. And earlier today, I ran her, got her to level 3 actually, and
What?
she very rarely used her ultimate. Like, her ultimate is good, it inflicts grievous wounds, and it's an AoE damage. Did quite well for me. I had a crazy round with her, where she literally cleaned up everything, where a round I was almost certain to lose, but honestly, she isn't the best. She, for me, is a C, or a bit lower. That's my opinion on her. Like, Imperial buff with her, she does alright. Otherwise, she's a bit iffy. She'll die quite quick. She's in a similar boat as Akali, where although Akali will get her ultimate off and deal a lot more damage than what Katarina will do. So I'm putting her in D.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on to probably one of the most stupidest characters in the game there is. Probably been broken since day one. And honestly, Kale, the best Noble Knight, hands down. Once you put a level into her, she becomes insane. If you get her to level 2, you've basically won. There's no point in competing anymore. That ultimate, in running 2 targets instead of just the 1, you basically make it so that either she's not dying, if you have an assassin killing her, she's just like, nah mate, you're not going to be killing him. And you're also protecting one of your frontliners if that's the case. She is absolutely broken. Like, you just stick... The thing is with her, you just stick mana items on her, and she just becomes insane. Like, you don't need to put damage on her. As long as she's alive, you're guaranteed at least 2 people or 3 others alive in the entire fight. So I honestly put her in S.
Yeah, she's really good and annoying.
Okay, Kennen. You're the Yordle expert. I'll let you go wild.
Oh, thank you. Kennen. I mean, I love that he's Elementalist, Yordle, and
Ninja.
what else is he? Yeah, Ninja. It's pretty unique set of roles to put into one character, and I also like his AoE ultimate. It's really annoying to be up against because he kills or does a lot of damage at least, unless he dies.
The good thing about that
And
ultimate is you can put a Moronomicon on him.
yeah,
And everyone
exactly.
that's caught in that ultimate just gets absolutely shredded up by Grievous Wounds. And as a whole, he's probably an A tier, if not better.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
ninja buff also means he gets extra. So A or S.
I mean, I would put him on an A.
Okay. Next we have the one cost assassin who's also a void. He is fairly decent. He's a bit buggy at the moment, which I don't think Riot understand, but it's Kha'Zix. He is fairly good assassin. He assassinates very well. His ultimate is very buggy in the sense that it can sometimes proc twice, killing multiple people, and it's very good. Unless it's an intended function where it procs twice, but when he's on 0 mana for no apparent reason. But he's definitely very good. Yes, he's one cost, so he obviously isn't going to be as good oddly as the rest of these guys up here. But he's definitely worth warranting a C rank, at least, in my opinion.
Yeah, because it's easy to get him to level 3 as well.
True. Next we have Kindred. And Kindred has a very good set of actual abilities. And, well, I mean abilities. Class is very good. She's a Phantom and Ranger. However, in my opinion, of the set of Rangers, she does the least amount of damage. Like, base level. Like, Vayne does more damage, Varus definitely does more damage, and Ashe does incredible amounts of damage in comparison to her. And as a whole, the Phantom buff, okay, is very good. You basically killed one person. Congrats. But what if it hits their worst target? Obviously, it's not the best. And you're highly unlikely to kill that. Well, you're either going to kill that immediately and still lose, because Kindred is very hit or miss, or when it procs, like in time. Hey, I'm saving 3 teammates here because you brand ulted me. Oh, my ult's a bit late. It's only saved me now for about 2 seconds and I'm gonna die immediately. It's very hit and miss in my opinion.
Yes, it's a gamble, but I think it's a good gamble to take with Phantom buff. And I would say that she's way better than Karthus.
I agree. She's definitely better than Karthus in that, because the Ranger buff does make up for it slightly, but she isn't too good in comparison to the rest of the tier. Next we have probably a very strong contender here for a B or an A spot. It's going to be Leona. And Leona is a very strong noble. She has a very good ultimate that provides a massive stun. It's probably one of the best stuns in League, I think. It's either the same tier as Gnar or Kennen, honestly, for stuns. Or definitely not Cho level stun, but it's very good. She also is very bulky, similar to Cho. And honestly, I feel should be an A tier.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Lissandra. We're probably going to debate this. I definitely feel she's better than Anivia. Her ultimate, in recent recordings, if you haven't seen TFT time, absolutely devastating early and late game. She just stops fights immediately, killing off the opponent, locking him down, stopping him from escaping. That is super good, because that just means they're not getting involved in the fight. Like, in comparison to Anivia, what does she do? Oh, she just puts a massive AoE damage over time. Oh, Lissandra stops this person from getting involved in anything. And also, she could also put it on herself and heal. She's definitely better than Anivia. Hands down.
Um,
What's your opinion on that?
I mean, I don't know. It really depends. Like, I don't know. I actually don't know. I think you're right. Actually.
Okay. Moving on to a guy who's received a little tweak in the latest update. Lucian, whom I honestly feel could definitely be A or S tier. His ultimate is very good in the sense that its base is now attack speed oriented. His ultimate is now got attack speed effects so that his third shot actually is fired quicker. And I honestly feel he does a lot of damage, and that ultimate gets procced so often, you're going to be firing in a lot of damage. Like, as far as I'm aware, if you give him a magic damage item, it's doing 200 damage per dash at least. So, he's either A or S tier. What about you? What do you feel?
I mean, I think he's good, but not A or S tier. I'd probably put him on a C.
Ooh.
Like he is good, sure, but you need items to make him like useful in my opinion. He's more like a distract with his dash rather than someone who deals damage.
The thing is, he's definitely better than Fiora.
That is true.
So, are you willing to agree we move Fiora down a tier and Camille down a tier?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay, there we go. That's how we bargain this. Okay, next we have the God Queen herself. We have the Yordle Sorcerer Lulu. And as a starting character, she's very strong. She gives, what, 200 extra health an ultimate at level 1. Goes up to 300 or 400 at level 2. And it hits 2 targets instead of normal 1. And then level 3 Lulu, you're hitting 3 targets with an extra 600 health. I mean, you think base Shen is 600 health. You're basically gaining an extra team member with that ultimate.
I mean, I love Lulu. She's awesome. Like you can do anything with Lulu.
I honestly feel she's an A, maybe a little higher, but A, solid A as a whole.
Definitely solid A.
Next we have MF, and in actual TFT tier list, she's ranked quite low. And I honestly feel that's unjust. She's currently ranked the lowest 5-cost character. Now, I feel she's a lot better than Karthus, hands down. That ultimate
Yeah.
can solo out people now. That ultimate does a lot more damage in patch 9.17, and honestly will actually hit a lot more targets than what Karthus would do. Yes, she's quite squishy, but so's Karthus. She combines well with Gunslinger teams now, because Jinx was added. Jinx basically makes her a lot more powerful, and I honestly feel she's a solid B. Like, or an A, as a whole.
Yeah, definitely a B.
Okay. Like, the thing is, she does get countered by Kindred quite hard as well, I'd say. Like,
Yeah.
her ultimate does cover the entire circle of a Kindred ult, though. So, obviously, that is very good. Next, we have what I consider the weakest Knight Phantom and the 1-cost Knights in the game, Mordekaiser. And as a whole, he's the damage Knight that you get, but honestly, he isn't the best. I honestly feel he's either a D or a C. He's certainly better than Karthus in terms of Phantoms. If you're going Phantom buff, you're more likely to pick up a Mordekaiser than a Karthus. So I feel he's either a C or a D.
I mean, I'd say he's better than Ari for sure. So I'd put him at a C.
Okie dokie. Next we have Morg, who received quite a heavy buff in the latest update, making her ultimate damage a bit more balanced in the sense it does a lot more. So I feel she's a solid A or a B. Because the amount of targets that put, I'm probably going to put her at a B because MF ult is slightly better. Next we have Nidalee. She's a solid shapeshifter, also wild. She does incredible amount of damage. I honestly feel she's either a C or a B area because she does tremendous damage. She's not got the amount of tremendous damage as everyone else in the tier. So where would you put her?
be B, because she does get a lot stronger.
Now we have the newest character to TFT, Pantheon, and I've run him quite a few times. I've got him to level 2, never got him to level 3, but he is a very strong level 2. He inflicts grievous wounds with his ultimate. So yeah, you could say he's a similar to Katarina. He provides a stun. So that provides something a lot better than Katarina. So let's just follow this. Grievous wounds, same level as her. A stun. Where's our lowest stun? Oh, Fiora. It's an AoE Grievous Wounds stun that makes him untargetable. There. There's no other way to put it. He's definite S tier.
I haven't played him enough to actually have an opinion on him yet, actually.
He is incredible. So let's move on to the Yordle Knight, Poppy, whom I feel is probably one of the better ultras in the game. She's bad level 1, don't get me wrong. Once you put level 2 or 3 into her, she is a machine. She's very tanky and bulky, which combines well with the Lulu, but I feel she either comes in B or A.
I mean, I think she's pretty good level 1 already.
I don't like the ult at level 1. It's lacking in damage, and she needs to frontline. If you stun up just one person, whereas at level 2, you're able to hit both the frontliner and the backliner, that's what makes her good. So you'd be rushing to get her. And considering she's a 3-cost character, you're going to have to be buying XP in order to get her quite early. So I honestly feel she's a solid B.
Fair enough.
Now we have Pike. And Pike has an AoE stun. And he's very bulky and can get in your backline. So backline stuns are exceptional. Like, considering the only other backline stuns are Leona and Pantheon, or Cho, he's definitely up in this area. So, he also has Pirate, obviously meaning he's going to be collecting new gold as well. So, where would you slide him in?
Honestly, I like Pike, but I only like him early game. So, as an early game character, I'd rank him quite high, but as a late game character, I'd probably not use him.
Late game, he is, in my opinion, is an absolute beast. He probably is one of the best counters to Kale, to these top backline threats at the top here. Kale gets fucked by him. Jinx and Ashe also get fucked by him. For that, by me, he's either solid A or S. And I feel he's going to be solid A, purely because you don't really like him. I mean, yeah, he does have that drawback of being an assassin and being a bit squishy. But he is probably one of the most bulky assassins.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Now we have Rek'Sai, whom I honestly feel is quite bad for what he does. Yes, he does heal when he tunnels. And yes, he does a lot of damage on a stun. But what else? He's not that bulky. He is void, so he does true damage. But she does minimalistic damage in comparison to everything else. Like, if you're running void, Kassadin and Kha'Zix are more likely to do more damage than the Rek'Sai, and they're both cheaper. So I feel he's down here in the C and D combo. the D and the E column, sorry.
I mean, I play him quite a lot, and he does do a lot of damage, and
She.
he's really good at stall. I'm sorry, I mixed it up.
So did I.
She is really good at stalling, and like, I don't know, I like her.
So.
I like her way more than Caston for sure.
See, early game, I'd rather have the Cassin. You're saying late game you'd rather have her. So you're warranting her to be at least a C. She's neither good nor really bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'd put her probably at B or A personally, but I get what you mean as well, that she's not that good.
Okay, next we have Rengar, whom I feel is a solid assassin. He's certainly better than Katarina, but definitely not as good as Evelyn. But he is more likely to be living and doing more burst damage than these two combined throughout the entirety of the fight. Like, damage over time, he'll do more. But as a whole, he isn't the best, in my opinion. So he's around a C or lower.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Now we have one of the most annoying glacials out there, Sejuani. Yes, she's infrequent in shops, but the ultimate makes up for it. Having an AoE ultimate that stuns is one of the big things of putting you up there in the top tiers. Plus, being glacial, she has more chance to stun you. And yeah, her damage is quite low, but that gets made up with her teammates. She does her job of being a bulky glacial, and works well with the Braum. As a whole, I feel she's a B or an A tier.
What are you doing?
I'd certainly say B. I mean, she's a knight in glacial, which is good, but she's not like A level good.
Okay, so next we have the Ninja Blade Master, Shen. So, Shen as a whole is very good throughout the entirety of the game. Like, he is heavily countered though by rapid fire cannon, but he does work as a whole. He does a lot of damage, and he is considered tanky with his ultimate, allowing everyone in his circle to dodge, like on your team. As a whole, I feel he's probably B or above as a champion.
I really don't play him that much, but I've never seen like an actual proper good Shen, so I would rank him that high.
So round B?
I'd say C actually.
Really?
Yeah.
And this is where we're in disagreement, because that dodge is extremely good. Like, you think you coming up against glacials or demons, you're wanting a Shen on your team because he can stop the attacks from these people who are gonna either stop you from attacking or draining your mana. Granted, he's highly likely to lose that ability, but he's good into these team comps. So I feel he's up here.
I mean, that's more like he's just like at least like a scapegoat. He's there to protect you and take all the hits for the rest of the team.
But that's the thing. His ultimate stops the attacks onto your teammate. Like, like your front line, you run it with him with a Braum. He, in a sense, makes it so that the Braum doesn't take damage. And, like, you put that in, like, he's guaranteed to do more than what the Elise is. As a whole. He does more damage and can actually protect the team a bit more consistently than her. So, I get what you mean, deserves to be around a C or a B.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have Shyvana, and I don't rate her that highly, but I'm guaranteed to be argued against her because I know someone who likes her a lot because she does a lot of damage and I think she inflicts burn. So I feel she's around a C or a B tier.
Definitely not. I mean, once she transforms, she's extremely good, especially with Dragon Buff. And then if you get something like Static Shiv or anything that gives her more speed or more damage, and she's good to go to kill like everyone.
That's the thing. She's relying on transforming. You look at Jace, who's up in the top here, and Nah. They do a lot of damage without having to transform.
I have to disagree with Nar there. He doesn't do that much unless he actually transforms.
He does a lot with attack speed, which I guess is similar to Shyvana,
Yeah.
but she does have good ability. I guess classes, but as a whole, she's either B or a C, in your opinion.
I'd say a B.
Because I agree she's good. She's around the same strength as Nidalee.
Yeah.
Okay,
Agree.
next we have the probably one actually is the last shapeshifter in Swain, whom as a whole, I just ran him the last game. He was exceptional for me. AoE heal onto him. He just drains everything from you. Like he'll drain your health, he'll gain that on him. He'll drain your mana, he'll gain that. He's exceptionally good. Plus the damage his ult will do over time, and then the final burst. He's definitely A or S tier.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's good unless you get lucky enough and kill him quickly.
I agree, but the way Swains are now, they get very bulky, very quick. So you're
Yeah.
gonna struggle to actually beat him. So A or S, this is your choice.
A.
A. Okay. Now we have Tristana, the gunslinger yordle, one cost, and honestly should be a two cost. She is extremely strong for what she does. Like that explosive charge, if you get two one cost Tristanas or more on the board, and we're gonna talk about Vayne in a second because it's the same effect, that explosive charge gets blown up extremely quick and does a lot of damage. Like, as a whole, she's very good.
Yeah, she really is.
So, however, I do feel she's around C or D tier.
Really?
Yeah, she's a one cost, and as a whole, yeah, she does a lot of damage, but her targeting isn't the best. Like, the way that Riot have made her target isn't good. If that was a bit more fixed, she'd be probably higher. But as a whole, she does a lot of good. So I feel she's a C. She's a solid C. Because if you
Yeah.
look at what else is in C, you've got Karthus and Akali. She's definitely a solid C.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have the Pirate Sorcerer, TF. Now, this guy is a bit hit and miss. It's kind of a roll of a dice, if you pardon the joke, with him being an absolute gambler, and this guy is kind of a gambler. His abilities are all on hit and do work well with IEs and stuff like that. However, the spells you're most likely to get is obviously blue card, and that isn't the best. Like, you want the red or the gold card more often than not, and you're not going to get that. He usually draws that blue card and regens about 80% of his mana. But it's a lot of damage he does. He's solid for what he is, and being a solid, I feel he's a solid C or a B.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't play him that much as well. But it seems like he only gets the mana card whenever I play him.
He's hit and miss. And with that, you're kind of wanting him to do well. But he doesn't, so he's a solid C.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have the last two rangers, one after another. We're going to have Yasuo soon as well. We've got Varus. Varus is good. I like him a lot. He's solid, he has a very good ultimate, and he does a lot of damage, which is what you would pick him for. There's not much more I can say about him than he's good.
Yes.
So with that in mind, I feel he's A tier because he's a mini-me Aurelion Soul. He's cheaper and does probably more damage than what an Aurelion Soul will do in an entire fight. Although I guess you'd say his classes could be better. I mean, Demon isn't too good. Yes, it does mean he gains the mana, but Ranger does make up for that. So I'm definitely sticking him in A.
Yeah, he is that good.
Now we have Vayne, and she's similar to Triss. She fires Iron Bolts as a passive, and obviously with multiple Vaynes on the field, they'll get procced pretty quickly and do a lot of damage. However, she is quite squishy, but the one major difference between her and Triss, Noble buff and Ranger. Ranger increased attack speed, meaning them Iron Bolts are just going to be proccing so fast. Plus, Noble, that heal and magic and damage resistance that you're going to get from her, or on her, is just going to be super high and means she's going to be firing in for a lot more. So I honestly feel she's a solid A or a B.
I'd say she's a B because she relies a lot on items as well.
True, she does rely a lot on her abilities. Now we have the nuke, Mr. Vigar. This bad boy is a solid burst character whom literally will burst out anyone he comes up against. You just build Moral Omicron, a Death Cap, and probably Lunt's Echo, and he's just killed you. Like, base level. He'll kill you. He's that
really
strong. Although, yes, you could say his ultimate is just solo one target, and it is, which is his letdown. But Yordle buff, he'll dodge all your strikes, well, most of them, and with Sorcerer, he just kills you before you even get a chance to attack him. He's solid, definitely A.
Yeah.
Now we have Vi, and Vi is the mini-me to Pantheon. Although she came out before him, Pantheon is just a far superior Vi. Vi is a very bulky character. She's a brawler. She does a lot of damage. And as a whole, can be considered around the same strength as Jace. As a whole, I feel she's a definite solid A. And is the mini-me Panth. Let's move on to Volibear, and this is one of your specialities.
not wrong, Volibear. I'm very conflicted about him because he is good. His ultimate is good as well, but he somehow is still really squishy. He dies quite quickly, and I mean he's good if you're gonna go brawler and glacial, but there are obviously better brawlers and glacials out there. So I would probably rank him C or B.
See, I wouldn't put him in C. He's stronger enough to be in a B. His ultimate with glacials stuns multiple targets, which is good. He also deals a lot of damage. However, getting his ultimate procced before he dies is quite hard. And as a whole, he does do sometimes nothing, but sometimes he does a lot. So he's around the C or a B. He's hit and miss. Next we
Yeah.
have another one of your specials, Mr. Warwick.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. He's not really my special anymore because I don't go brawler that much anymore. But he's certainly really good for brawler, and he's easy to get to level 3 if you get lucky. And the fact that he jumps on a target and basically executes them and like
He also
stunning
heals.
them. Yeah, and he heals from it as well. So I think he's really good.
I feel he's probably around the B tier.
Yeah.
He does get bursts quite heavily, even though he's a brawler. He's probably the squishiest brawler. And as a whole, he's either B or C, because we have Rek'Sai down here. Rek'Sai is worse than Warwick, hands down. Purely because of the ultimate difference. And that's why we're putting Warwick in B. Let's move on to the last two characters, and then we can end this mess. We have Yasuo. Yasuo is an exile blade master who, yes, creates his own shield. Yes, has a very good ultimate in the sense that it Q procs quick and fast. And he's honestly the bigger Akali. And as a whole, I don't rate him too high. Like,
I don't either.
I feel he's only a B.
I put him C or D.
I wouldn't put him that low. He's a bulkier version of Akali. And can actually proc 3 procs of his ultimate to fire a massive hurricane that stuns. He's around A or B. Roughly, I'd say.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to stick him here. And let's talk about the last character. We were just speaking about Akali, and how Akali's ranked so low is because of this character. This character is an Akali who you're more likely to get, you're more likely to get to level 3, and is more likely to do the most damage on your team. As a whole, Zed has a fairly decent ultimate. Yes, he doesn't fire it as often, but he's going to burst the enemy before he even needs it. As a whole, he does so much for you, and that's why I feel he's a definite solid B, if not A.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our TFT Champion rankings. If you agree with us, leave a like on this video. If you disagree, write in the comments where you disagree with what we've said here. Don't forget, we all have our own opinions about everything, and I'm interested to see what you guys think. So, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new around it, and I'll see you guys later. Anything for you to say?
Nope, just subscribe.
I'll see you guys later. Peace!